Well, the 250 Grand Prix race is up next, and one of the stars of this class, Marcus Payton, we spoke to him prior to the race.
Well, obviously, you know, it's going to be a fast and quick race. You know, Watsy's on the pace. I'm sure Atlee's going to be up there also. I mean, we've just got to get off to a good start and try and get a break from him and then get going down, get on the pace and hold it for the 16 laps.
Now, just tell us a little bit about how this riding style of yours developed.
Well, it's developed over a lot of years through production racing and then jumping onto the 250. I mean, honestly, I don't really know. No one told me how to do it. It's just developed over the years, and now I've just got one little problem, is trying to get my exit corner speed a bit more quicker so I can get the more drive to get onto the power out of the corners and onto the straights.
Well, as they get set for a start in the 250 Grand Prix race, you're about to see the style of Marcus Payton. But Alan Watts, bike 5 on screen, coming from pole position. Ken Wooten, he has really picked up his act in 96.
Well, Alan Watts, he's a very experienced racer, been racing something like 11 years now, and this 93 model Honda RS 250, it's getting faster every season. They're developing it, he's improving, he's racing very much with his head these days, and he could well be the man to beat this weekend, even though 22-year-old Marcus Payton is on his home circuit.
And Atlee starting to come to grips with it nicely in 96. Let's have a look as they charge down for the kink the first time through. Atlee will lead them through for the first time. Payton up there as well into second. Watts looks like he'll come through in third. Great 250cc Grand Prix grids this season, and it is good to see because these guys all vying for a ride in the Australian Grand Prix. Well, Atlee looks strong through the bus stop for the first time. Payton into second, and Alan Watts. We've seen these three guys at it throughout the season. Moving into round 3 now, nothing's changed.
No, and handlebar to handlebar, they were nearly touching that time. Marty Atlee and Marcus Payton through Hungry Corner. Atlee on the Honda, Payton on the Yamaha. Both of these guys, as you mentioned, not only vying for the championship, but it's very important to finish up in the top 2 or 3 of this class to get a ride in the Australian Grand Prix as a wild card entry. And it's Marty Atlee who leads the way. No, it's Marcus Payton who slipped through out of the slipstream and underneath on bike number 3. Payton with that spectacular hang-off style. He gets his elbows so close to the ground, sometimes even touching as he goes around the corner, hanging right off the side. A very distinctive style. Atlee a little more conservative as we see Alan Watts carving up Marty Atlee, and he's up into second spot on the Honda. So we've got Yamaha leading from Honda and Honda. These specialist racing bikes that when new cost around $35,000. These bikes now a couple of seasons old. Let's look at it on the replay as Alan Watts through the bus stop, Marty Atlee behind. You can see the suspension working. Front wheel coming up as he gets the power on, smacks down onto the track as he gives chase to the West Australian.
Well, it looks like Atlee definitely on the pace. Here we go. Have a look at the style of Marcus Payton as he comes in through the bus stop. The front pushes, doesn't bother him at all, just opens the throttle and drives it forward. Now look at him as he climbs off the side of the motorcycle, positions his weight to the inside, looking to get that advantage. Up and over the little dip with his knee, back down onto the ground and drives out of the corner. The next one through, Watts from Western Australia. A similar style but not as dramatic. The least dramatic of all of them. Atlee comes through, no less effective, each rider looking for the advantage. And you can see here the back of Payton's machine shaking as he came through Hungry Corner. Really does require a good rear suspension setup, but a rider can also use his body to effect as a suspension component.
Well, that's right. They have to balance, I guess, bike setup and rider technique. As we look at Marcus Payton, once again you can see the suspension at both ends of the bike moving in concert, the rear bumping around there as he goes across the ripple strips around Hungry Corner. Alan Watts on a Honda, Marcus Payton on the Yamaha, Marty Atlee on a Honda. These three bikes all the twin 2-strokes, 250 cc's, round about 80 horsepower, weighing something around 80 to 90 kilograms. Very fast, on some circuits faster than superbikes. But the importance is to get them tuned properly, both in gearing, suspension, as they work through some slower competitors now. Watts on bike 5, Atlee on bike 4, to tune the suspension, the gearing and the carburetor jetting. Here we look at Marcus Payton, bike 3, slow-mo. As we were saying, see how the front end is moving up and down. Now they'll spend a lot of time in qualifying fine-tuning both the amount of oil in the front forks, the thickness, the weight of the springs, and then fiddling with the external adjustments. Because the trick is not to ride the wheels off these, as what do we see? Somebody riding the wheels off, and it's the quick way to exit from the event. The trick is to get the machine set up to suit the circuit and then ride to conserve both the machine, the tyres, and of course your body.
Well, this is Michael Clooney. He's lost the bike coming down what is the fast run onto the straight. Now watch his helmet, watch where he's looking. He's trying to see exactly where he is relative to the catch fence, and unfortunately he's pulled up short, and so has his motorcycle. That's the tank. The fuel tank breaks away from the motorcycle and he's up and A-OK. But boy, that's a fast place to find yourself on the deck. Let's have a look at them now. At the front of the field, it is still Marcus Payton. This is the race for second place. Attlee, his bike not quite as quick as the Western Australian Watts machine, but needless to say, Watts, well, here he is, using that horsepower to good effect. Attlee looks for handling. He tries to get the motorcycle to handle. This lap competitor has, well, put paid to those plans. He was trying to get up the inside, couldn't quite do it. Now, Alan Watts into the bus stop. Attlee probably down about 6-8 kilometres an hour on the machine of Watts. The only way to try and make that up, especially at a circuit here like Lakeside, is just to ride the wheels off it. Well, that's what Marcus Payton's doing. He's free and clear. John Sydney Smith, Ken, I'm quite impressed with his ride. He's starting to improve each race we go to.
Another West Australian who makes the big trek across the Nullarbor to compete in the 5-round Shell Advanced Series. John Sydney Smith riding quite a special bike. It's got a Yamaha TZ engine, similar to the engine that Marcus Payton uses in Bike 3, but it's in a specialist chassis, a chassis built by Spondon in the UK, as we look at Watts challenging Marcus Payton. But John Sydney Smith getting faster with every outing. Of course, it's a machine that needs careful setting up. There seems to be something wrong with Marcus Payton. We've seen Alan Watts go through on Bike 5 and Marty Attlee on Bike 4. Payton has slowed on Bike 3. There is something wrong with that bike. It certainly hasn't got the speed that it had earlier in this race.
Well, he's lost all of that advantage in less than a couple of corners. Alan Watts now leads this round 3, and I think he'd be thinking to himself, gee, all I've got to do is keep my head down and get on with this. They wouldn't know that Payton was slowing up big time behind them as they come down onto the straight one more time at this super fast Lakeside circuit. Lap average speeds for 250 Grand Prix machines close to 150 kilometres an hour. Look at that, bad luck for Marcus Payton. He can't believe it. The bike has failed on him. It seems to be still going. Maybe he can limp it home. We'll see how he goes. The race now on at the front. That is Attlee sitting back in second place. Payton still riding the motorcycle, but obviously not very happy. Some sort of internal engine problem. No doubt they'll try and fix it before the second race. But no problems here for Attlee or Watts. Watts in control, down underneath the Dunlop Bridge, heading for Hungry Corner one more time. Accuracy here at Lakeside, absolutely vital. Get 200 millimetres too wide on Hungry and you're out on the bumps and you can't get the throttle open to do the job. Out of the eastern loop, downhill, onto the straight. Top speeds of the 250 Grand Prix machines in excess of 240 kilometres an hour. This is a great run here from Alan Watts. He'd be very pleased with this. He'd be getting the lap boards, telling him P1 plus just a little bit.
Well, going into this race, Alan Watts was third in the championship behind Marty Attlee and Marcus Payton. Now, if they keep going the way they are as Watts gets into the final lap, then it's going to put Alan Watts near the head of the table. The positions are the exact reverse of what they are in the championship. What Marcus Payton has to do is stop thumping the tank, keep his head down and try to get to the finish to score some points. Because with 2 rounds to go after this round at Lakeside, those few points could be all important in deciding the championship. But there's no worry about this race. It's Alan Watts who takes victory from Marty Attlee on bike number 4, and Marcus Payton holds on for a valuable 15 points for third position.